400 for the 400 initiatives. The Valley will be sowing seeds, meeting the needs from March through August. If you would like to be a blessing and participate, you can bring the following items to worship. Care packages such as toothbrushes and toothpaste, combs, deodorant, lotion and mouthwash, hand wipes, shampoo, hand sanitizer, first aid kits, socks, and school supplies. Get ready for our April 28th 400 for the 400 initiative. The harvest has come to Harvey. We will be returning back to our roots, sowing seeds with giveaways and prayer at various locations following worship from 12 to 1 p.m. Site locations and more details are located on the website at www.vkmi.org.
God is the only one who knows the purpose for your life. He says, you'll find it if you come seek me. Find God's plan first. He knows the plan for our lives. He does. And he's claiming rights to it by himself. He has the copyrights for your life.
Digging Deep, Living a Life on Purpose. Next week is the final week of the Digging Deep General Session teachings in the Tabernacle. Next week, we will wrap up all sessions. Stay tuned for our online summer classes, Born to Be, which begin on Wednesday, May 8th.
What would happen if the people of God started handling money God's ways? You work too hard to get to the end of your life and have nothing to show for it.
This is my family's legacy that I'm talking about here. I've got to have a plan and be focused.
That knowledge that you pass down to your kids, that is how you change a family tree.
You change your life when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired. And you have that moment where you say, I've had it. I am not going to live like this anymore.
The Women's Ministry presents A Cup of Grace on Saturday, April 27th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Donations are $10. The event will be held in the multipurpose room on the administration side of the building at VKMI 5217 West 149th Street in Oak Forest, Illinois. Wear your bestest hat. More details located in the lobby. The Men's Ministry is inviting you out for their annual Bowling with the Brothers. Saturday, April 27th, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Linwood Bowl, which is located at 2581 Glenwood, Lansing Road in Linwood, Illinois. Cost is $20 per person. You must sign up in advance if you plan to participate. More information located in the lobby.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to another experience in Real Talk. Thank you for joining us on tonight. And once again, it is an absolutely incredible night that has been planned for you. We want to, again, thank you for joining us. Remember, it's Real Talk from real people about real life. That's what we're about here in Real Talk. And we're always basing it on the scripture in Revelations chapter 12, verse 11, where it tells us something very powerful. Here's what it tells us. It says, we triumph over the enemy by two things, the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. So what we do here at Real Talk, we just tell our testimony in hopes that, one, it'll set the person that's telling it, it'll allow them to conquer over the enemy, but you who are listening in, you have the ability just by hearing the testimony to conquer the enemy that's in your life. And I know that there are people out there, and because we all go through things. You're going through some things right now. I pray that this night will be a blessing to you, because always keep this in mind. The pain that you're going through is just leading you to that place that you need the healing. Let that settle in for a minute. Whatever your pain is identifying that place where you need healing. So tonight, get ready to be blessed and hear this testimony from two wonderful ladies that we've scheduled for tonight. They're good friends of mine. I love them both. So get ready and listen to the voice, the testimony of Kathy Clifton.
Good evening. My testimony, my life, my journey, my purpose. How did I get here? This was not an easy road, but I thank God that the road that I'm on now is full of joy, full of peace, full of laughter, full of happiness. I grew up on the south side of Chicago on 79th Street. This was during the time where families were together. You had good friends. You had family ties. I had friends that are still my friends even to this day. I grew up with such low self-esteem. No one knew it. The enemy of your soul messes with your mind. He tells you things. He used to sit on my shoulder and tell me that I was not good enough, I was not pretty enough, my hair wasn't long enough, I was skinny, you too skinny. And I believed everything he said, not realizing that he tells stories, he lies, he doesn't tell the truth. So I grew up with extremely low self-esteem. I had a spirit of suicide, but I was close, extremely close to my grandmother, loved my grandmother. And I remember hearing the voice say, but if you kill yourself, what will your grandmother, I called her mama, what will mama think? What would she do? That would hurt her feelings. So I never did it. Obviously, I'm still here, right? And I grew up thinking that I would never be happy. I saw others being joyful and happy, my friends, but that was never something that I thought would happen to me. Well, my grandmother passed away, but then I had my first child, my son, and so that was a purpose for me living. I thank God for him. I then had a daughter. I thank God for her. That gave me a drive to keep going, to keep striving. I was pretty smart in school. They said I was better at math, but they never asked me, did I like math? I hated math. I should have been around people. I should have been around children. I should have been around people that influenced me and people that I can influence. So later in life, I began to understand who I really am. And I want to encourage those. I will give my age. I am 60 plus some other numbers behind it. And so I want to encourage those that feel like at this point in their life they've missed it. That is not so. That is not true. I went back to school to take some classes on early childhood education. I was older than the teacher. But I sat there in that class, and I was pretty smart. I did pretty well. I graduated with honors. I opened my own home daycare, and I love it. I love my life. I understand who I am. I understand whose I am. I remember one night in my home kneeling on my bed because I come from a really religious family. And I asked the Lord, if you change my life, if you heal me, if you heal my heart and my mind, I'll do whatever it is you want me to do. And that's exactly what he did. Little by little, I began to take off the low self-esteem. I began to understand my purpose. I began to understand, okay, this might be my size forever. My hair may not grow down my back like the rest of my family. I may not do the things that they do, but I am an individual, and I had to look in the mirror and say, you are okay. I had to look in the mirror and say, don't worry about someone else, and don't worry about what they think or how they feel. And to this day, that's what I tell others. You be the best you that you can be. I believe God called me to the young child. My daycare is called In the Beginning because it's in the beginning of their lives where you make the biggest impact, where I can make the greatest impact. My children will not say, they say we cannot think small. Miss Kathy says don't think small. We have to think big. You cannot tell them that they are not smart. You can't tell them that they are not intelligent. You can't tell them that they can't write their own stories, write their own songs. And my children are from 6. My youngest is a year old, and my oldest is only 5. But they think that they can conquer the world. And so if I can just impact those little lives, I believe that that's a start. And as they evolve and move on, I get a new group in. And that is my purpose, is to tell someone my testimony and what God has done for me, so that they don't have to go through the same things. The devil is a liar, everything he says. So what? I wore glasses, your 4 eyes, well, I can see. And now that I can see you, and I can see and hear the things that you're telling me that are not correct. I thank God for my family. I have a big Valley family. We encourage each other. We love on each other, the family of God. My cousins and friends, we're close. We encourage each other. You never know what people are going through. None of my friends knew my trials. None of my friends knew what I was going through. But I thank God that he put me in this place at this time for this purpose, that I can tell you, I can tell myself, and I can tell anyone else that's listening that you are more, much more than what the enemy has told you, of course, but even much more than what you think and what you believe. The sky is the limit. Why should your thoughts be small? Every thought. My children say no small thoughts. No, they're real animated. No, Miss Kathy says no small thoughts. Think big, even at this stage in your life. Whether you're young, whether you're in your mids, or whether you're old like me. Amen. There's still room. There's still time. Get on board. Find what makes you happy. Find what moves your heart. Find your passion. Find your purpose. Find out what it is that you want to do. I won't do what someone else will do or follow someone else's plan. I thank God for where I am right here. I know my good side. I know the ones that encourage me. And then I know the other ones that if I need a different phone call I need to make, I have friends like that also. I have people that will pray me through, and they'll call me, and I'll do the same thing. You can't tell me that God created someone to have low self-esteem and to think bad about themselves, because that's not who he is. That's not his character. I began to find out new things about me. I began to find out what I liked, not what someone told me, but what I liked. And it is so important to get to know your own self, to your own self be true. But I'm having a ball learning Kathy. I'm experiencing things that I never would have thought. I do things now that make me happy. I'm not selfish, not by any means, but I do things that make me proud of what I've accomplished. I do things that make me happy. I can stand back and smile now. The one thing I cannot do is draw, and that gift has not kicked in yet, amen, but I'm going to try. I'm going to keep trying. I can draw straight lines. My children can outdraw me, but I have a good time even trying. I do love to dance. I love to sing. I love to eat. I love to eat. I like to cook. I love to eat. So, I'm enjoying life. This is a time in our lives where it has to be good. With the way the world is going, and if you focus on the bad, that's exactly what you'll stay focused on. But if you look within and say, God, you created me. You said in your word that I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Now, what exactly does that mean? That means, for one, God makes no mistakes. If I'm this way, he created me to be just this way, and I got to be okay with it. And if you're not, if someone else is not, oh, well. Oh, well. I am happy with the skin that I'm in. I'm pleased with the purpose in my life. I at this place at 60 plus, I'm moving on. There is no stopping me. And I pray that those that get in the way won't get run over. Amen. But I just thank God for my friends. I'm meeting new people every day. They're impacting me, and I'm impacting them positively. And that's a good thing. I do have a plan to go back to school and to take a few more classes, but then I'm taking some classes where I can teach. I have a plan to go back and teach, help other home daycare providers get started opening their own daycare. Now, who would have thought that would have been me? They told me I was to stick with math and to only work with numbers. That is not something I wanted to do, but they didn't ask me that. They just said, you're good at it, so do that. I thank God for me finding a purpose. What was my passion? Children are my passion. After they get about 6 or 7, that's a little different. The passion lifts a little bit. But the babies, and up until they're 5 and 6 years old, that's my passion. I'll dance with them. I'll love on them. We do things together. I even encourage the parents. We are a village, and we are doing great things. My purpose in the beginning of their lives is where we make the greatest impact. We can structure them. We can tell them what they can do, and they can do anything. What can't they do? Let's try it. We can't do it. Let's try it. Let's get on this swing. Let's slide. So I thank God for even the opportunity to give my testimony, even the opportunity to say that I am more than a conqueror. I am an overcomer, and it's because of the love of the Lord. In Jesus' name, I thank the Lord. Remember, you don't listen to the voice of the enemy. You are who God says you are, more than a conqueror.
That was the voice of Kathy Clifton. I want to sum it up a little bit. If you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you like to win but think you can't, it's almost a cinch you won't. If you think you'll lose, you've lost. For out in the world you find success begins with a fellow's will. It's all in the state of mind. If you think you're outclassed, you are. You got to think high rise. You got to be sure of yourself before you can ever win a prize. Because life's battles don't always go to the stronger or faster man. Sooner or late, the one who wins is the one who thinks they can. Life is about believing that you can. And one of the most awesome things what she was talking about is thinking big. I love thinking big. Here's what I say about that. I'd rather think big and get some of it than think little and get all of it. Let that settle into your spirit. I'd rather think big and get some of it than think small and get all of it. Get all that God has for you in this life. But when it comes down to it, you're going to have struggles. You're going to have challenges. You're going to have people that don't believe in you. You're going to have people telling you that you're supposed to be something else. You got to follow your own passion. Be what God called you to be. So you're getting ready to hear from another voice. Another young lady with a powerful testimony. Get ready to conquer. From the voice of Pamela Boone.
Testing. Blessings. It is a pleasure and an honor to be here having real talk with real people about purpose. I was thankful when anytime I get the opportunity to give my testimony, because I realized that we do overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. Like, that's real. Like, all the Bible is real, but that's real. So, see, I'm not used to really speaking in front of, with the microphone. But here I am. So, really, it's an honor, because I realize that when you go through something to get to where you're trying to get, everything that you go through is for a purpose, even if it don't feel good at the time and you don't realize it at the time. Everything that happens, if we believe that God is in control, and that is my wholehearted belief, he is in control of all things. If he did not allow it to happen, it would not have happened. So my testimony begins, like I've always kind of been in the church. Like, I wasn't raised in a church. Like, my parents never really took me to church, but my friends went to church. So about 10 years old, I got baptized, and like stayed around in the church, like loved it. I was Baptist, and loved it. And then it wasn't really any power in the place that I was in. So of course I didn't stay there long. When I got tired of the rules, I did something different. And when I was 23 years old, I met a boy and liked him a lot, and he hurt my heart in the worst way possible. And I remember before that happened, I used to want to go to church. Like, my aunt used to go to church all the time, and she just had all this joy, and I wanted to go. So we went a couple times, and there were a few rules there too. And I remember him saying, but why we got to do all of that? Like, it don't really take all of that. And I didn't really know what it took, but I knew that I enjoyed specifically the feeling of being in the presence of believers in a worship environment. And so I decided because we had moved in together, and I didn't want to disrupt my household not to go. So God allowed him to break my heart in the worst way possible. And the first thing I remember is if I'd have just kept going to church, but you know what? It was still there. So I was able to go back. And God healed my heart in a way that I never knew that it could be healed. I met the Lord May 23rd, 1993. And in doing so, a lot of things changed. I was a nail technician. I was independent. A lot of things changed. I was sold out for the Lord at the time, and received I hate to say this in the church, but it's true. And this is real talk. Real talk. I received a lot of church hurt. I really love the Lord. I wanted to live for Him in every capacity possible. So, in the church, they stigmatize certain sins, when in fact there is no sin that's greater than the next. And so I did not want to fall into sexual sin, into fornication. So I got married. I got married to somebody who I shouldn't have gotten married to. But I say this, all things work together for your good, because when I did, we were married 8 weeks. I found that I was 6 weeks pregnant. We had never been intimate before. 8 weeks in, I found out I was 6 weeks pregnant. So I surmise it to say that my son could have come no other way. So I have the most amazing son. So this leads me to the second part of my testimony. A few years ago, my son is 22 years old. A few years ago, he was in high school. He was a senior in high school, struggling. He had struggled all 4 years to that point. And he didn't have to, really smart kid. And he just, wanted to do things his way, what he wanted to do it. And I knew it well. My mother told me. She spoke those words over my life because I gave her the business. So she said, when you have kids, they're going to give you the business. And he did. So I was ready. Not so much. I remember it was his senior year in high school, and God had started stirring this thing up in me. I had been speaking to women, literally for about 2 months, and almost every conversation I had, the conversation was something like, they really want to do something, but they had to wait until this happened, or they had to wait until that happened. And I was like, if you really want to do something, you should do it. So it was a message that was birthing in me, being born in me. And then my son started struggling, and I found out that he wasn't going to graduate on time. And I had done a lot of stuff to get him a good education. Real talk. I just got to make sure where I am. I used my city address when we really lived in the suburbs. I don't want to say I broke laws, but I did to give my son a good education. I just wanted him to have a good education. So I did everything that I knew to do. I went above and beyond the call of duty as a mother. And still he was struggling. I felt him slipping. Like I felt like I was losing his grasp. Like he was kind of letting go of my hand, like falling into the world in a real way. And I went to God because I had really, I gave it everything I had. I had nothing else. I really, broke laws, y'all, to give my son a good education. And he was about to go into his 5th year in high school. So I went to God, and that was just one thing, because I realized that years later, that wasn't going to be his story, right? But I couldn't lose him. So I went to God. I remember specifically, God had been dealing with me about getting, I was in a church, I was going here, I was going to Valley, and I love God. I was in, a part of a ministry team and everything, but I wasn't completely sold out. And I went to God, and I said, God, I need you for real. I need you like I ain't never, ever needed you before. This is, this is my only begotten. And I need you to keep him. I'm going to ask for a couple things specifically. I need you to cover him with your blood, because I do know that your blood has all power. And I'm going to ask you not to give him no jail time, because he was slipping. But whatever you want to do, I trust that you know what's best. I know you love them, like I know you love them, like as much as I love them. And that put a pause in me, because I heard myself telling God, the creator of the universe, that he loved my son as much as I do. I can't even fathom how much God loves that kid, right? Or even me, for that matter. Like, I think I know how much God loves me, but you really can't really comprehend how much he loves you. So when I said those words, I said, you know, I believe you love him more than I do. And when I was able to say those words out loud, something shifted in me, realizing that he really did love me more than I did. So I said, I'm going to give him back to you. And whatever you want me to do, I'm going to do it. Whatever you want me to do. I was kind of bargaining or negotiating, but I meant it with my whole heart. And as it turned out, he put a book in me. It was already kind of stirring around. And I told my son, I ended up in the hospital, high blood pressure. Now I work out 5-6 days a week without thinking about it. I eat 75-80% clean. I had high blood pressure, stress. Stress kills. I was in the hospital, and I looked at the book. I didn't have the title or anything yet. I looked at it, but it was stirring. I looked at my son. When they told me it was high blood pressure, I said, you ain't about to kill me and then be blowing one up for the mama who can't be here. You know what I mean? Like, I ain't about to be dying. You living fat off my insurance policy. So I said, listen, I did my part, and I'm still here to be of any assistance that you need me to be. But if you want this, well, first of all, you can't stay here without an education, without at least graduating from high school. So you got to make this happen, and you got to do it for yourself. Like, you got to do this for yourself. And I realized, even with talking to those women, like, God was really working on, he was like, you know, because he's smart like that. He was really working on unveiling the beginning, like a portion of my purpose, because your purpose, as you walk into it, it continues to unfold. But as a result of me having a conversation with those women and things they weren't doing, and me talking to this 17-year-old at the time, God gave me a book, and it was called Do It For Yourself. Because really, if there's anything that you really want in life, like nobody, like your purpose is yours. Your life is your responsibility. Everything that it encompasses, like your family, your health, your finances, like everything that your life encompasses, it's your responsibility. And if you were ever to walk into the fullness of what God has for you, nobody can do it for you. Like nobody. Your husband, he might love you a whole lot. Like your kids, your parents, like they might be able to encourage you or kind of lead you in a certain direction, cultivate some gifts, help you stir them up. But nobody can walk it out for you. Nobody. If it's ever going to be done, you got to do it for yourself. So I ain't about to do no shameless plugs or anything like that because I said it like 6 times already. But it's the truth. Like that is really my purpose, and that's how I got to it, because I realized that God is always behind the scenes working. Like he's always like nudging at you. He's there like the Spirit of the living God resides on the inside of you. Whether we believe it or not, it's a real thing. And he's always trying to get our attention, because all he really wants is a relationship. All he really wants is for us to sit at his feet and be like, Dad, you know, I was thinking about this. What do you think about it? I like to do this. What do you think about it? And, that husband of mine is really tripping. Oh, I'm sorry, my husband might be watching. But really, you talk to God about everything. He's not a 1 or 2 day, he's not a 1 or 2 day or a week entity. Like, he's a real and present God, want to be involved in every aspect of our life. Like, if we allow him to be, it's a real thing, and it's real joy, and it's real peace with it. So as he's nudging you, I just want to encourage you, if he's nudging you, and he is, because that's just kind of what he does. Like, he created us not just to be here chilling. Like, he created us for a real purpose. But it's your responsibility to, get into it, like lean into it, sit quietly, because we be talking sometimes too much. And we need to just sit still and quiet and hear what he's saying. And when we hear, move. Make a move on. If you don't think you can hear, like you can't hear sometimes without a preacher, get into a good church. I recommend Valley Kingdom Ministry. It's lit. So I just want to encourage you, and thank you for this opportunity to walk in it, find it, and walk in it.
Thank you. Come on, stick around with for a little while. And we're going to have Kathy, come on, why don't you join us as well. As we all know, you can have a seat right there in the middle. This is that segment where we just kind of delve in a little deeper with our guests here. I want to thank you all once again for hanging out with us at Real Talk. And I thank y'all for being real with your talk. So I just want to, the first thing I want to open up with, one of the things that is, I guess, common in both of you all's stories is the kids. And one of my absolute passions that I have a football and cheerleading program that's 180 kids. And we know how what's happening in our communities today with the violence and drugs and gangs and all of that kind of thing that's rampant, and violence, of course, is on a upswing. How important is it, and you mentioned the beginning, how important is it to shape those minds? And I know it was you talking about your son, but the point is still valid in how important it is to shape the minds at an early age and give them what the body really needs, the body, mind, and spirit really needs, and that's that love and acceptance and affirmation. What would you say about that, Kathy?
It is so important that we learn to encourage our children. Encouragement is the key. I'm sure we've all been in places where we've heard moms talk to their children, and sometimes we can fall through the floor when you hear them. Children believe their parents. If I tell you you can conquer the world, I'm going to keep it positive, then they believe me. But if I take it to another level and I say, you can't do anything, you can't spell, you can't, they believe that also. They will believe what you tell them. If you teach them at an early age, in the beginning of their lives, that they can do great things, they'll believe that. Even for a short period, just like the word says, when you train them up, they may walk away for a little while, but they still remember. They still remember. I got to think big, because there used to be this song, well, it's still a song, it's, I may as well think big. Why should any thoughts be small? I may as well think big if I'm going to think at all, is how the song went. And if we begin to tell them, our children now have so many different obstacles. We didn't face half of what they face. So we have to change the game. We have to change how we play. They're single parents, they're blended parents, families, they're two mommies or two daddies. So we have to get in their ear. We do, as people that will be positive, as people of God, we have to get in their ear and in their head. That's where the enemy gets them, in their minds. These guys that are out there doing what they're doing, I believe some of them are just have gotten to a place where this is all we know. It's hopeless. You know, we could sit and discuss how that happened. Yes, the absentee fathers, the fathers left, the daughters are looking to be esteemed. They're looking for someone to tell them that they're beautiful, and so they go out and look. We can do all of that, and we can, and probably most of it is the truth. But where do we start? We start in the beginning of their lives, right there. I go in stores, and I hear parents call their children out of their names. Now I'm a mandated reporter, and I'm still from 79th Street. I want to. I'm a man, but the mandated reporter plays second to the fact that I want to go. Yeah, you know, but. Yeah, amen. And that I have a heart for the children. Why would you say, call them out of their names and talk? But if our children believe what we say, and if we say you can do it, I can, you can do it. They'll believe us. So we have to start early. We have to.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Same question. What would you say, Pam?
You said how important is it? It's like as vital as the air that we breathe. It is. It is our responsibility. The Bible is true, and it says, train up a child in the way, as believers, like the Bible is written to believers, train up a child in the way that he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart, because God knows that there will be some times that he's going to be working on a testimony, and that's all relative as well. But we got to be better. We got to be smarter. We got to be wiser. And the only way we can do that is by spending time with God. Like, that's a real thing. So it's important, because I remember my mother had 9th grade education. She was 19 when she had me, who was her second child. And some kind of way, like I got relatives who don't have this testimony. This is true. I would say, remember the stuff that your parent would, when I wrote Do It For Yourself, they would say, I would say, you know, it's just remember the stuff that your parents used to tell you that you could do. Like you could be anything you want to be. You could do anything you want to do as long as you believe. And it would say like, no, I didn't know that. Like I didn't get that. But my mother helped me to see beyond the realm of what was real to a level that she could only dream of with her words. And I believed it. There was nothing that I thought I couldn't do. There was nothing. And then I would say, you know, maybe I just because I can, I probably shouldn't. But it's important as the air that we breathe that we encourage and speak life, because our tongue is a weapon. We have the power to speak life. And death too, but I always just say, let's speak life.
And so important, and I'm glad you both answered it in that fashion. And I think about, as you were talking, I was thinking about my son. Both of my sons. I got a middle son. He's 22. My oldest boy is 24. He'll be 25 in August. And at a young age, I used to, and I wish I could have got it at a young age. I used to talk about at a young age my kids walking in authority and power. And if I would have heard that kind of thing when I was younger, ain't no telling what. But
exactly.
But my kids, the parents, the teachers used to call me when my boys was in high school. Used to call me and say my sons are disrespecting them, right? So I'll come up to the school, and I'm asking, what did they do? He said, they walking around here like they own it. How else are they supposed to be walking? Well, Jeff don't carry a book bag. What number is he in class? He's number 29 in a 370-something class. You got something else to do?
Yeah,
my other boy is number 7 and a 2-sport athlete.
Yeah, he confounded them.
It totally confused them. But when they were younger, my middle boy, the one that's an athlete, when he was, I think Justin was 3 years old, I put a little Nerf basketball in his hand, and because I used to sit him on my knee while I'm watching sports, the first time I put a Nerf ball in his hand, he walked it over to the rim and dropped it in there. I didn't even have to show him. My oldest boy, I saw the business grace on his life one day when I was trying to get that boy to sit down somewhere because he kept on going to the door, and I didn't know what he was doing. And then I finally got up to go to the door, and he was renting his wrestling men out at 50 cents an hour. And he's 7, 8 years old. But you go fast forward to 24, he's an insurance agent, graduated in finance at Ball State University. He's an insurance agent, but he also opened an Airbnb back in November. You see that when you start affirming them early and putting them in the grace that God and the passion that God has given them, ain't no telling what they can be. So you both are absolutely right. So let me shift a little bit. We're going to talk about the abominable thing. Church hurt. Let's talk about that a little bit. Now, I'm going to start by saying I grew up in the church. I was 5, 6 years old. And I used to see some things I probably should have seen. But nonetheless, I used to struggle with seeing people act a certain kind of way in the church, and then they go outside, they become this totally different person. So it was confusing to me. Now, the hurt, as far as the hurt is concerned, that I saw more so happen to other people as opposed to me. But at the same time, I felt bad that that's what happens in the church. So could we talk a little bit about, and I'll say what I generally surmise. I generally surmise at a young age that people are people no matter where they are.
That's true.
We put people on pedestals, pastors and evangelists and all that kind of stuff. They just people.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about that a little bit. Church hurt.
So they are people, but they are held to a certain standard. Right, as people, right. No perfection, no expectation of perfection, but when you're in a certain title, you should be held to a certain level of accountability, at least. You know what I'm saying? So I want to say that because even though they're all just people, like you know, you're leading people. You are the shepherd of a flock. So there is that. But as far as church hurt, I've been hurt. Like again, you know, because when I was in the church, the worst sin was sexual sin. And I literally got married because I did not want to fall into sexual sin. Like if I'd have met this, I'm trying to, be gracious with my words. If I had met him anywhere outside of the church, wouldn't look twice. Not a bad looking guy, like a nice looking guy, but as far as the connectivity, there was no real conversation. There was no real communication. There was no real connection. There was nothing. There was nothing. The only thing that we had in common was church affiliation. And I did not want to hurt God's heart. So, and by sleeping with him before I got married. So I married him and had a whole baby.
Do you know how many people have done that, though?
I can only imagine.
Oh
I knew it wasn't just me. I knew it wasn't just me. I was hoping it wasn't just me. But yeah, and then when I realized this was some of my hurt came in, I realized I'm a real estate broker. I've been selling real estate 23 years. I was married in a bad situation. I was showing a woman a house, and she was 65 years old. She was looking for a 2-bedroom house on the east side. I'll never forget this. It was like 98. And I'm asking her a story because I'm driving her around. She said, I asked her, well, why the fresh start? Like what's leading you to this place? And she said, well, I've been married for like 30 years. The marriage had been over for over 20. But we just decided to stay together for the children. Yeah, and so I said, oh, like here I am in this not so great situation. So I went home, and I'm a worshiper. I couldn't even worship God because I was in sin. I shouldn't even been married in the first place, right? And so all I want to do is worship and get in God's presence, and I couldn't. And I heard that lady say that, and I asked myself some questions. I said, because the church was like, y'all married now. This is what it is. And so I said, now how long do I get this? Because what I know for sure is this ain't going to last forever. Like, I wasn't built like that. And so, not that because I'm happily married now, but I knew that situation won't last forever. I was in torment. And so I said, well, how long do you give it, Pam? Do you give it 1 year? Do you give it 2 years? Do you give it 10 years? And so I thought about the lady. I said, do you give it 20 years? You give it 10? Like, how much time do you give it? And I told myself, not another day. I've been married 1.5 years. And I said, not another day. And that was real hard.
I'm sure.
Because I was Jezebel. I was
yeah.
I was
about
banned.
to say that.
I was
It's
all
a whole lot of names you're going to be called.
And what I would not do was justify why I was leaving to make myself look better, I didn't want to have to make him look bad to make myself look better because it was over. like y'all, they encouraged it without really knowing the situation. It was my fault. I take full responsibility. But I said it wasn't nothing nobody could say to make me stay because I just knew what was happening behind closed doors and my spirit was broken. So I said not another day, and I left, and I got all the backlash. I got all the backlash on the ministry. So I just left for a while, and I ended up finding the valley.
Look at God.
Look at God.
Can I just say something before you say something? You know what's so powerful that we always forget, man? And we're going to always go through some things, and, we're going to question our decision. People will question our decision. But one powerful scripture that I absolutely love, it says, nothing can separate us from the love of God, man. Nothing. You better know it.
Come on now.
Nothing.
Nothing.
And we got to remember that, man. We human beings, man. We're going to make mistakes along the way, but nothing can separate you from the love of God. Don't let nobody put that judgment on you. God loves you. Don't you ever dare question that. I'm sorry, I had to put that out there.
My church hurt is a little different. And I never really talked about it, never discussed it. You probably don't even know this, Pastor Jeff. I've always been in leadership. My old pastor used to say, you can tell a leader because they'll rise to the top. You don't have to go find them. They'll rise to the top. Well, I had always been in leadership. At my previous ministry, I was in leadership there. But I was, we're going to just use the real word, in bondage. Hallelujah. You know, yeah, real talk. So, you know, not encouraged to do more, not encouraged to be free. This is what you do, and this is how you do it, kind of, you know. So that's when I began to say, it got to be a little more, because I, too, was in a relationship, a marriage, and I was like, there has to be more. That was my prayer. Lord, it has to be more. There has to be, where's this joy that people are talking about? Where's this freedom? Where's this liberty that people are talking about? And I was a faithful person. I was a faithful church member. There were 3 services at my church, and I was there for all 3 of them. And that's not to mention the revivals that happen weekly, monthly. I was right there. My entire family, from even when my daughter was 2 and 3 years old, we were there. We were at church. All of us, when the doors opened, actually, my then husband opened them, and when it was time to close them, he had the keys to lock them. And families was put on the back burner, you know. And that church at that time, that ministry, was okay with that. Was okay with the church comes first. And so when I began to need to take a deep breath, needed to exhale, needed to go find out some more, because there had to be, every day I'm like, Lord, this cannot just be it. There has to be more. There has to be a purpose. There has to be something. I'm not feeling anything. Nothing. So my friend gave me a tape, a sister of mine that moved to Atlanta. She gave me a CD. It was a tape then. And it was a tape from Eddie Long, Bishop Eddie Long. And I don't remember the tape, but I remember he said this: when what fed you no longer feeds you, you don't need nothing to tell you it's time to move. He said, when what used to get you, it doesn't catch you anymore, it's time to make a move. And I was like, okay, Lord, it is definitely time for me to make a move. But how am I going to get out of it? I have all of these responsibilities for these 3 services, 8 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and 6 o'clock. We had an evening service. And then Wednesdays, I went from work on Wednesdays to church, to service. Then I went from church to Eat and Run on 87th Street to buy my family dinner. That's what we had every Wednesday. When I pick up the phone, I say, hello, this is Kathy. They knew exactly what, okay, your orders, you can come get it. You know, that's no way for a family to be. And I had young children. And so I ended up, how I got a Sunday off. I said, I really need a Sunday off. Well, no, we need you. You can't do it. Like, okay, but I need to take a Sunday. No, I broke my toe. Yeah, the Lord had to, like,
the Lord broke your toe.
I had to, he allowed me to break my toe. He didn't do it. He loves me too much. So I broke my toe, and I couldn't get up to go to church that Sunday. And I was like, man, I could get used to this. But the next Sunday, he said, well, I told the pastor, I said, well, I broke my toe, so I can't come this Sunday. But he said, well, you know what? Take 2 Sundays off, being sarcastic. Take 2 Sundays off. I was like, okay, cool. And someone had given me this CD that's called Shekinah Glory. Praise is what I do. And I had been listening to it. It was old when I got here. But I came, and I sat right over there, and Pastor Phil was here. He was just Phil Tarver then. And he started singing this song. No, when I walked in the door, I took a deep breath. I was like, okay. And I had on my blue shoe, for my toe was broken, and the people here just hugged me. There was a lady that hugged me. Hey, welcome to the valley. You know how we do when people come in. I was like, Lord, please, please. I'm just crying. I'm like, this is it. And Elder Phil started singing. And then the minstrel started playing, and I heard something, and I started singing it. And I didn't tell too many people this. And what I heard, I'm way back there, Elder Phil started singing the same words. And I'm like, what in the world was that? What was that?
It was like a prophetic?
Yes,
okay.
It was a prophetic song. And I started singing it. And he picked up on it. And I'm like, okay, all right, Lord. So I'm wailing in the car. I'm just crying. I'm like, Lord, please set me free. That was my prayer. But that's when my friend gave me the CD from Bishop Eddie Long. He said, well, what used to get you, what used to move you, it don't. But my church, they kind of shunned me. And I had been there for 20-some years. I had seen people get hurt. They hurt me. I don't even want to say, even though this is real talk, some of the things that were told to me, because I wouldn't do that. But I went through, and I thank God for his healing and his, his deliverance and his bringing me through and letting me know that there is purpose. If you're not being fed.
Yeah,
because I'm hungry.
Eventually you'll starve. So I'm gonna shorten my story, and my story basically comes from the fact that my father was an alcoholic before he got saved. So when he got saved, he threw himself into the church, right? And so I'm 5, 6, 7 years old. I played 3 sports: baseball, basketball, football. Can I tell you? Never saw him at any of my games.
Oh, wow.
Never, ever.
Okay.
So growing up as a child, man, it was like, you see other kids, moms and dads there getting hugs with it. Jeff Newton by himself. That was the hurt.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, I thank God for healing me from that. But what it also taught me is that here's the deal, the testimony for my daughter, my 2 sons. I was at every game, every cheerleading recital, every ballet recital. I was at everything for them as Pastor Jeff Newton, because I didn't put the church over my family.
Absolutely.
God didn't give you your family for you to neglect them. He didn't do that. I'm talking to somebody out there. And I'm telling you, you can manage the whole process, but you better keep your family first. I'm going to leave it right there. So, getting ready to close. And there is somebody out there that needs to be encouraged, somebody out there that needs to be inspired. Pam, go ahead and inspire somebody out there.
You are not here by mistake. You are not here by mistake. You are here specifically and intentionally. Even before you were thought of, God had a purpose for you. And he allowed you to be here for such a time as this. Not even being real deep, like we ain't just here for no reason. If we're really created in God's image, we're his workmanship, and there is a real purpose for you. But there is nobody who can find out what it is. There is nobody who can fulfill it. Like, people can do a lot of things, but what you were called for, nobody else can do it. But if you decide not to know this, you're the only one that's going to be frustrated. God will allow you to be frustrated until you do that thing that he called you to do. And it's work, it's purpose, but it's the most fulfilling thing that you could ever do in your entire being. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care how amazing your family is. I don't care if you snatch to the gods, as they say. Until you fulfill what God called you to do, like, the joy that you can experience, you'll never really tap into it. It's a real thing, and I encourage you with my whole heart. I'm telling you about what I know, not what I heard. Do it for yourself.
Kathy?
I'm going to use these words in my Michelle Aiken voice. You are loved. You are. The Lord loves you. Regardless of anything else, the Lord loves you. And that voice that tells you things that hurt you is not the voice of the Lord. There is purpose. There is, if you are, and I'm speaking to those that are middle-aged and older, you still can get it in, as they say. You still can do the things that you desire to do. Please trust God. Please don't give up. Please live. Please find the joy of the Lord. That is your strength. That is your strength. The joy of the Lord is your strength. Laugh. Jesus said, I come that you might have life, and that more abundantly. That don't mean sitting in the corner like little Sally Walker sad. He wants you to enjoy your life. There is a purpose, there is a plan. And in that process, you can still enjoy and live and have, and this is the best advice. Surround yourself with people that encourage you. Surround yourself with people that will love on you, not those that's going to hate on you, not those that's going to tell you bad things. Encourage yourself and allow others to encourage you. Any bad thoughts, those are not from the Lord.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
I just heard something. I already said that it was your responsibility, right? You can do and be anything that you want to do and be. Your greatness has already been predestined, and it's specific, and it's yours. And I just heard that you can have it, but you don't get what you want. You get what you create. Wow. So create it.
I love that. Yes, I love that. So thank you both. for being here and enjoying. I enjoyed you both. I appreciate you, and I'm sure that somebody out there was blessed, and we thank God for you joining us for Real Talk, where we got real people with real stories about real life. So I'm going to leave you with this scripture. No matter what you're going through right now, check this out. Romans 18 and 8 says, 8 and 18, it says this about you. For I consider that the suffering of this present time doesn't compare to the glory that's going to be revealed in us. I don't care what you're going through right now, but man, you get ready for the glory to be revealed in you. Real talk, real people, real stories about real life. See you next week.
That was good. That was fun.